jump in the back of the pickup truck and join us for a ride back to the good old days.
Are you telling me that you built a time machine?
A nostalgic podcast based on entertainment and memories from the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. Come with us and revisit the best time ever. So jump on your BMX bike, pop a heavy metal tape into your Walkman, and hang on tight while you go back to the past with us.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Pastimes at 80s High. Got another decade series for you today. We're going to go with a year that I just find phenomenal, and that would be 1984. And we are going to just discuss our favorite albums from that year. I have Mark, Kevin, and Donald with me today. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Nice. Donald.
Doing good.
Kevin.
Heyo.
Yes, sir. And I am AJ. Before I kick it off, I just want to get a little thing out there, and that is our website. Hope you will check it out, and that is pastimes at 80shigh.com. And that is the number 80 there. 80s. Pastimes at 80shigh.com. And please shoot us an email at pta80h@gmail.com. Love to hear from you guys. We're starting to take the call-ins and get some participation. Once again, pta80h@gmail.com. And I think this is going to be a fun one, guys, because what a great friggin' year this was.
Yeah,
just unreal. Like, it was a tough one for me. I don't know about you guys.
Wasn't easy.
No.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Right? And I believe, we always do a news story. We like to do that. Kevin, you have the honors.
All right, I'm going to start off with one of the shortest news stories that I've ever brought up in our decade series, and that's going to be October 23rd on the BBC News. Michael Björk started talking about the famine in Ethiopia.
Dawn, and as the sun breaks through the piercing chill of night on the plain outside Forum, it lights up a biblical famine, now in the 20th century. This place, say workers here, is the closest thing to hell on earth.
Thousands of people had died, and even millions more were in danger. And I bring this up being music related because November 25th of that year, Bob Geldof started Live Aid and forced that horrible Christmas song into our fucking ear holes.
Terrible.
The ensuing concert was fantastic. The Do They Know It's Christmas Time, just, it hurts my ears. I love the sentiment, and I'm glad that the people got to eat, and Sam Kinison had some input on that, but I think we talked about that last week. So that was my news story, was the famine news story leading to Bob Geldof.
Nice. And speaking of that, when you said that we spoke of Kinison last week, I believe a couple weeks ago we also spoke of the DO one, right?
Hearing Aid.
Hearing Aid. Sorry.
Hearing
Aid. Yeah. What a great tune. We're stars.
Yes.
That was awesome. All right, man. So do you, Mark?
All right. Well, this is about Mark St. John. He recorded Animalize as the lead guitarist, played like a bumblebee.
What band would that be for, brother?
Oh, that would be for the rock group Kiss, obviously. Animalize. He played on the album, and then he came down with reactive arthritis, and his hands blew up like balloons. He did only play 2.5 shows. The first one was in Baltimore on, I believe it was 11/27 of 84, and he actually only played the second half of the show, and Bruce Kulick was on stage with him, and then the next day he played in Poughkeepsie, New York, and the full show, and then he played in Binghamton, New York, and that was it.
Yep.
He went on to play for White Tiger, and then unfortunately he got into some bad shit, ended up in jail in Orange County, and ended up getting beat up by like 20 inmates with pencils. And a guard stood there and did nothing about it. And he passed away a few months
Unreal,
later. And, they
Wow.
said it was an overdose of methamphetamine, but I think he had a seizure too. So I think it might have had a lot to do with the beating he took.
Could have also have been lead poisoning.
Yeah.
I'm not laughing at that at all. I'm just thinking how terrible, and maybe the movies we watch are not so unreal when you think of those.
Right. What a
types of things.
tragedy though, to be like, woohoo, I'm in Kiss.
Yeah.
And then 2 days later, you're like, no.
No, you're not. Yeah.
Nope.
Terrible. Unreal. All right. So for me, I'm kind of debating what I'm going to go with, but I'm going to go with, this is a little outside of the music genre. This is the year they gave movies the PG-13 rating. This is also the year that I believe I went to see Friday the 13th 7 days in a row at the movie theater with a few of my friends. And I think that's because they showed boobies in it.
Ooh.
And they also showed Jason's face, which was, very cool at that age, like nobody saw Jason behind the mask back then. And I went with Aaron and Ryan Reel 7 days in a row over school vacation. And just to do that, like, it was a joy. We'd ride our bikes there and just go check this out. Then the following year, you showed up at the movie theater and they're asking for your fucking ID. It was not
12.
the same. I feel like that really changed things. And I feel like just in general, it changed the whole system rating and maybe even society and how they started feeling about movies. So
it was interesting when it came out because how do you ID a 13-year-old? You really can't.
Exactly.
No,
So it's an
cannot.
honor system for the most part, and like
Exactly.
you look 13 or
Right. You're
and
14.
what are the guardrails? Like, is there like minimal boobies, or is there
Was there a nipple?
difference between the 13 and the R-rated?
Right.
You
You showed a
few
nipple.
more F-bombs or whatever,
But then it dictated editing and movie production as well, because they would, we need to go for the PG-13 because everybody's going to want to go to that. Nobody wants to go see a PG movie. That's for babies. That's,
Yeah.
So all those tweens that we were at that time, they were trying to get us to go to that. And then you think about how many movies at that time just had gratuitous, like I always think of
gratuitous
Summer
sex.
Rental. Summer Rental, where the neighbor comes over and she just, that has nothing to do with the movie. She just keeps flopping her tits out. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it really didn't add to the story.
No, just had to make
like-
it PG-13.
Yeah.
And it
Some
was
producer
probably a
was
money
like,
grab.
yeah, some
You know,
producer
like,
was
hey,
like,
we got to get
need-
more
yeah, we need
asses in the
some tits here.
seats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the pre-13 crowd bringing in, right? Think
Right.
of that.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, to you, Donald.
All right. So in January 26th of 1984, Michael Jackson was on his third take of doing a Pepsi commercial when his hair caught on fire. So Michael Jackson, he was one that he did use quite a bit of product in his hair.
Soul Glow.
It glistened very shiny, just
Just let your soul glow. Just let it shine through. Just let your soul glow, baby. Feeling oh so
But I saw a video of it and I was like, oh man, it caught on fire. There were some pyrotechnics like sparks or whatever and just got him right. And supposedly he suffered from migraines after that. And that led to a long history, which eventually led to his demise because of, having a lot of pain and he had back pain from a fall that he had in a concert. And because of that, he ended up having to use propofol to be able to sleep
And then got
Yeah.
really discombobulated over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I just
I mean,
remember
that
that
had anything to do with it.
huge news story in 1984. Like, oh my God, Michael Jackson's hair caught on fire.
Yep.
But I mean, a month after that, on February 28th, he won 8 Grammys out of 12
Unbelievable.
at the Grammy Awards. 12 nominations, he got 8. And that's amazing.
That's a record for certain.
Yeah. And that Grammys was hosted by my man, John Denver.
Yes,
That's
The
right.
highest rated Grammys ever. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Rocky Mountain High.
Yeah.
Awesome pick. All right. So we're going to kick her off then here. 1984, boys. What do you got going for your number 10, Kev?
I'm going to start it right off with, I think it was the first release of the year, and it was actually called 1984. We're talking, of course, about the Noise Boys, the mighty Van Halen, with their last album with David Lee. It peaked at number 2, I believe, and that was because the aforementioned Michael Jackson would not let anybody into the one spot with Thriller. And the other thing that I can tell you about this that I did not know until yesterday is the song I'll Wait. Eddie had written the music and they got stuck and they couldn't finish the song. And I think it was Templeman or Landa, one of them had worked with Michael McDonald. And I believe we've talked about Michael McDonald before. He was everywhere with Yacht Rock and Doobie Brothers and Steely Dan and whatever else. Michael McDonald actually co-wrote I'll Wait, which is one of my favorite ones off that album. So that blew my mind to find that out. But what an amazing album. There was so much tension between David and Eddie wanted to bring the synthesizers in and Dave wanted to do show tunes and all of that. But I mean, you can't deny that Jump and the synthesizers that Eddie did on that album changed absolutely everything. And then when you get to like Girl Gone Bad and House of Pain at the end, which were kind of older songs that they finished up for that album, brought it right back to the hard rock Noise Boys that they were. So I think that kind of leveled it out and made the whole album kind of balanced.
Yeah.
But definitely groundbreaking.
Massive. And one huge thing, I just wanted you to finish before I cut in, but
Yep.
that is also, I mean, of course, there were videos before that, but when that album came out, I mean, think of Jump, Panama, Hot for Teacher. That was their MTV heyday. Just unbelievable. I mean, such great videos. And then later on, of course, you had the David Lee Roth videos, but those were friggin' incredible. And
Forget about it, Dave. Forget about it.
It really helped them explode. I mean, Hot for Teacher still might be my favorite
such a great video
of all time, although I got a close second coming up soon. So,
Gee, Mom, I'm nervous and my socks are too loose. Sit down, Waldo. I mean, they were all so much fun. It was just great stuff.
ah, sir. Awesome pick, Kev. I'm actually glad you took it. I mean, I'm not going to spoil
That's
anything.
the first pick,
but-
AJ. You do know that it very
Shut
well
up.
might come up.
I got it. All right, brother Mark. We are going to you.
Okay, well, after being told to shut up, am I allowed to talk, AJ? All right. I'm going to start my number 10. I'm sure people have it a lot higher. It's Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA. This album had a lot to do with his image, which is totally not really who he is. But what a great record. I mean, give the devil his due.
Right.
You have the title track, which is not exactly patriotic if you really dig deep into it, but it came across as that back in 1984.
Right.
I'm on fire, going down. My favorite song, I think, is Dancing in the Dark. Then you have the baseball song, Glory Days.
Love Glory Days.
Great tune. My hometown. Just this is his heyday. This is when everyone started calling him the boss, and just it was one of that year. It just seemed like there was a lot of soundtracks, if you will, from a lot of these records. And you'll see that as my picks come down the pike. And just a great record.
Incredible album, for sure. And I know where you were going there, brother, but I'm glad you held your composure.
Of course I'm going to hold my composure. This isn't about any of that. It's about rock and roll.
Well, speaking about rock and roll, you guys are not going to have this one. I'm shocked I do, but I could not keep this off my list, okay? This album was so important to me because it's just so fargin' funny. This is Weird Al Yankovic. Weird Al Yankovic in 3D. I mean, he was coming along, I think an album or two before this, but this was, okay, you had Eat It. Okay, you had the theme from Rocky 8, which is one of my favorite songs he ever did, which is AKA the Rye or the Kaiser.
Try the Rye or the Kaiser, they're on special tonight. If you want, you can have an appetizer. You might like our salami and the liver's alright. And they'd really go well with the Rye or the Kaiser.
All right. You had Jeopardy, then you had the Brady Bunch, which was the parody of Men Without Hats, Safety Dance. This thing just was very powerful to me at a certain time in my life, and I couldn't leave it out. And yes, it's a comedy album, but dear Lord, did it have meaning to me, Mark? I can still see you picking on me, singing Nature Trail to Hell.
That's what I was going to talk about, because I needed to say Nature Trail to Hell. You told me that you and, was it Brian or what was his name, his brother's name, Chris? You wrote that song. You told me that.
And you fell for it.
And somehow I gullibly believed you.
Well, that was untrue.
Neighbors, by the way.
But
how could you forget King of Suede? And I lost on Jeopardy.
Oh, I did say Jeopardy, but I
Okay.
did forget King of Suede, which is on my list right here. Yeah,
I will admit I did own that album.
Oh man, I
And
loved it.
That was
Loved
fun.
it.
That was. I didn't even see it on any of the list, and I did not realize it was 84. But
It wasn't a cheesy parody. It was like the actual tunes and him being hilarious to it.
It was a riot.
Of course.
I had to take it, boys. I had to take it.
Nice.
How
will
old
not
are
fault
you,
you for that,
Donald?
AJ.
Yeah.
My inner Dr. Demento geek.
Yeah.
Pencil neck geek.
Yeah, I loved it. Okay, Dongo.
All right. So for my number 10, everyone knows I love the cheese, right? I always say I love the cheese. And when I say that, I mean I love the 80s, just, power ballads and the songs that everybody loves. And,
You're going with
stuff.
Madonna,
Yeah.
aren't you?
No. I'm going with Vital Signs from Survivor at number 10.
I'm very happy about
I can't
this.
hold back. High on You, The Search is Over. But I love I Can't Hold Back. That is such a great song, I can't hold back. Da, 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 da,
Love
da.
it.
To edit a song in there because no matter how hard I try, I cannot sing Survivor. I mean, that dude has a unique voice. It's a high mid-range vocal range that is hard to
replicate.
Oh yeah, you can't do it. But they had some great ballads, man.
Unbelievable. The Search is Over could be possibly my favorite ballad of all time.
Oh,
it's
good.
so heartfelt. Listen to the lyrics of that song. Now, am I mistaken when I say he's been hanging out with this chick and they're like kind of friends, and then he's like, I want to bang her?
Well, yeah. The search is over. You've been with me all along. Was that what the line was?
Yeah, but I feel like they started out as friends. Just anyway, That is a
Right, that's the-
spectacular song.
Right, the old movie trope of the guy's trying to hook up with all these different chicks, or he's after some other girl, and then he finds out it's a girl that his friend that is really
right. Some
really
kind
the
of
one he needs
wonderful.
to be with. Yes, yeah, exactly. And 500 other movies. In the
Right,
80s.
exactly.
Right.
But what a great Donald! I had a hard time cutting that one.
I did
because
cut it too.
There's so many. I mean, you think about. We've talked about this before. There's so many albums of that era where there's one great song and the rest of the album sucks.
Yeah.
That one is like killer.
Yeah.
And I will say again one more time, my first concert, Valentine's Day, 1984. REO Speedwagon and Survivor.
Nice.
And Survivor was as much as they were doing the power ballads, they were no slouches in concert.
Yeah.
That's the exact line you used in the previous cast. I love it. No slouches. Because they kicked ass. That's fucking
Unpredictable.
awesome.
Yeah.
That back to you, Kev.
Oh, heck. It's time for AJ to get mad.
Uh-oh.
No.
You have to take it. It has to be taken, and it has to be taken here. Purple Rain changed the whole friggin' landscape.
Indeed.
It changed everything. Prince is such a genius.
And the Revolution.
And the Revolution, yeah, that was the first album where he actually let other people he'd played all the instruments, he had done all the other things. That was the first one where he let other people collaborate with him. And I think that's kind of what made the album as fantastic as it was. One of the other notable things about that is the song Darling Nikki got Tipper Gore's the JJ all wet, and she created the PMRC.
Yeah.
So that was a thing, which really we've talked about it before. It was just, again, I think that the labels had a reverse effect, because when you were 12 or 13, you're flipping through the albums and it's like, oh, I want the one that's got the parental warning on it.
Absolutely. Right.
That's going to be
adverse
cool.
effect.
Sales went way up.
I want that one. Yeah.
I
don't
want this.
Right. And, one of the things I was talking about earlier too is I was listening to that album last night and thinking about, Madonna and Prince were like neck and neck at that time. But today, I don't feel like I'm listening to the Prince album like, wow, genius musician, all of that. And I listen to, and it takes you back to that time. But you put on Madonna, it's like, yeah, it was what it was.
Right.
It was from an era, but it was not as powerful and as long lasting.
Yeah, way, right.
As that album was. So
Legend.
just absolutely phenomenal, front to back, top to bottom.
Influential guitar player, vocalist, writer, performer. He had everything, all aspects.
I think we've talked about it before, but that performance of While My Guitar Gently Weeps, where he just blows everybody off the stage, gives you chills.
Incredible.
Absolutely fantastic.
My number 9 pick, AJ is probably going to be surprised by this, but I'm going with Bryan Adams, Reckless.
Nice.
A lot of ballads. Heaven's the biggest ballad. Not my favorite song. It was just a little sappy. Okay. But Run to You, great song. Somebody, Summer of 69, great tune. This is almost a shout out to Bryan Adams and Jim Vallance for doing such a great job helping other bands write songs. It's a moment of appreciation to them. Talk about versatility. Bryan Adams wrote War Machine, and I do believe Jim Vallance was involved in that.
Yes, he was.
Their names are actually going to come up later in a pick of mine, but just talk about part of the 1984 soundtrack to driving around the Lakes region back when I still lived there.
Awesome pick, Mark.
Nobody has anything to say about my pick?
I do, if you'd shut up, because my pick
It's the second
is
time you told me to shut
Bryan
up.
Adams, Reckless. I know, but Judas Priest, how can I talk about your pick when you're picking
you
mine?
picking Judas Priest or Bryan Adams? Get your pick straight.
Dickhead.
Yeah. Talk about my pick that you picked because it's your pick.
I got it on my.
I also.
Yeah.
All right, go
It's
ahead.
a solid album.
It is a solid album.
Indeed.
Okay, AJ's starting to get angry.
I'm not angry at all. I was just trying to shut my face as you were picking my pick. So yes, I go somewhere special with this album, and I've probably talked about it in the past. But first of all, just when I don't know if it was Heaven or Summer of '69 that came out first, and then all the friggin' songs on this album. This was massive. Very important to me, and here's the biggest reason why. Not only did it carry me through a year of my life, our dear, late, beloved brother David purchased this for me for Christmas, knowing full on that I wouldn't give a rat's ass about it, but he thought if he bought it for me, he'd be able to listen to it. And he gave it to me, and I threw it on, and this is back, you guys know, and everyone out there knows that's our age, where you had like the single block stereo that had the turntable on top, maybe two cassette tapes in the middle, and these are not separate components. This is one cheap unit.
The rack
maybe
system.
Yeah, maybe an equalizer on it. But anyway, I had vinyl for until 87. I think I had to listen to vinyl or cassette. David bought that for me on Christmas, and I'll never forget opening it because he said, I'm like, what's this? Trust me, you'll love it. And I did, and fell in love with the whole album. So many friggin' great songs on it. I will move to you now, Donald, because I know, as you have said, it may come up again.
Well, so I'll do an, as Mark calls, an audible.
Yeah.
I'll put Reckless in now because I had it much higher, but because I believe that album is very on par with the, Dark Side of the Moon and Def Leppard.
Incredible.
And, the albums, it has a ton of hits on it. Like, it has a lot. And it was a very, signature album of the 80s. And like you said, at our age at that time, when we're coming into our adolescence, starting to get into romances with girls, and those songs hit you at the right time.
Yes.
So Summer of '69 is just, that's a perfect anthem song for the youth of America. It's Americana there. Run to You, Heaven, Everybody Needs Somebody.
One Night Love Affair.
Amazing album. I was into hard rock and heavy metal, but always respected Bryan Adams's, pop rock. But it was amazing. And
it brings emotion.
Yeah. So
great songwriting. Summer of '69. Back in the day, I actually did the math. I somehow, I can't even remember where because we didn't have the internet, but I found out that Bryan Adams was actually born in 1959. So in the summer of the year 1969, he was actually 10 years old. So all of the things he talks about in that song could never have happened in the year of 1969. So I think maybe when he says summer of '69, he might not be talking about the year.
I think it's a dirty entendre.
Dirty boy.
Oh my goodness.
I think he's reminiscing about something that might have happened.
Maybe it was the summer of '76.
Could have been.
Right.
That's all I got to say about that.
All right. That's 8 to you, Kev.
All right. Number 8. I just love this whole album. We cruised with this cranked up all the time. Slide It In by Whitesnake. So much better than the album they got real popular with afterwards, in my opinion. I think it's an amazing blending of blues and hard rock. As I've talked about before, and we've talked about before, Dave Coverdale's a bit of a dick. fired everybody just after the album was, or I think
A.J.
during
Bauman?
the album. But John Sykes came in and I think he added a lot to it. I did find out, I did not know this. Uncle Ted has a writing credit on Spit It Out. Makes sense. Ted Nugent, yeah, that tracks in my mind. Also, Adrian Belew from King Crimson helped write Standing in the Shadows. Just a great album, even with the fact that they fucked up on the mastering of it, and you can hear parts of the original recording behind the actual recording. And I always thought I got like a bad cassette copy of it, but no, it's out there. That's the US recording. You can hear like ghost vocals in the back. Maybe not the finest engineering ever, but still a great down and dirty rock and roll album.
Raw. All right, brother Mark, we're heading to you.
All right. I'm not the biggest fan of this band, but this was part of the soundtrack of 1984. This would be the Cars' Heartbeat City.
Nice.
Great record. A lot of fun stuff on this one. I mean, you have Magic. Magic, and you might think are two of my favorite songs of all time by the Cars. Probably my two favorite songs. You had the title track and, of course, Drive, which is their biggest hit. I mean, I don't know how to explain that song. Would you call it I wouldn't call it a ballad, but how would you describe that
Power
song?
ballad, maybe?
Power ballad? Or
It's an easy listening song.
Can't go on thinking nothing's wrong. Who's gonna drive you home tonight?
Yeah, I mean, this was definitely their biggest record, I believe, as far as sales. And, I mean, one of the reasons I'm not a huge Cars fan is because they tended to just stay in there and play their instruments, and they didn't have a very exciting concert.
No, they're known for being boring live. They really are.
Fortunately, this is
Well,
a
that
studio
song,
record.
"Who's Gonna Drive You Home"? How do you play that live? Like that, you'll put people to
I
sleep.
understand.
Yeah.
I know.
It's a great song.
They
I
did
love
that
the
a
song.
lot, from what I
Yeah.
heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember this being played constantly in 1984, the summer of 84. I mean, it came out in March of 84. So the timing was great. And that's what we listened to back then. So
Absolutely. I mean, they were
that's my
great.
number
They
8.
had so many hits. Great band.
I'm kind of cleansed of them now. I can listen to them again.
Right.
I get it.
overplayed.
I know
like,
exactly what you mean.
Comes and
Right?
goes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So that's to me then. Purple Rain to you, Donnie. All right. No, not really. I do want to just talk about a couple songs on it. Like the title track had a lot of meaning to me, but Let's Go Crazy is what really kicked me off into that album. Like,
I love that song.
everyone just talking about it, and I grabbed the album, and this is vinyl back in the day. It was a soundtrack of my life, and we've already discussed it twice, so I'm going to go to you, Don.
All right. So I'm going to go with Love at First Sting from the Scorpions, which was in February of 1984. Rock You Like a Hurricane, Big City Nights, Still Loving You. I've never been a huge Scorpions fan, but that album is amazing. Like, those are great rock songs. You cannot deny how awesome those songs are.
Oh.
Very powerful songs. Yeah, that's really all I got to say about
Did that have Big City Nights on it, too?
Yes, it did.
Yes.
You mentioned it.
Yeah.
Big song there.
Yeah.
And I'm the same way as you, Donnie. Like, I had, The Zoo and a few
Yes.
songs that
Yeah.
rolled through me. And then when this album came out and they said Scorpions, and then you heard them, it's like, that's why I like that band. They're
Yeah.
fucking awesome.
Was that the one that had the power ballad with the whistling? Was that on?
No,
No,
you're
no, that
thinking
came
of Winds of Change.
God, I
Yeah, that
hated
came
that
out-
song. Oh, I know it.
Well, it was all based on the Berlin Wall and all that stuff.
Oh,
I like
I
that
understand
song.
that, but they played it to death. And the whistling reminded me of one of the ski resorts around here had a similar.
Oh, God.
Do you remember that?
Discover the fun. Ski Lost Valley.
Oh, God. Sunday River. No.
Oh, it was just terrible. It was just terrible. But anyway, that's for another decade at another time. Mr. Pink is a different guy on a different job.
Awesome pick, Donnie. All right, that's to you, Kev.
Oh my, moving right along, I am going to take my good friends Dawkin, Tooth and Nail.
Nice.
What a great second effort. And I can't believe they put out more albums after that, because Don and George just could not be in the same room together. They famously fought tooth and nail.
All right, that's a good call.
and just like to the point where they had two producers because they couldn't agree on producers, and one of them just placated Don Dawkin while George Lynch was in the studio with the rest of the band, Pilsen and Brown, and then they'd come back in and Dawkin would do his parts, and they couldn't even be in the studio together. I mean, to me, that's just like, wow. You think you could, musical success could, and tons of money could make you be like, I'll get along with it.
Right.
I'll just make it happen.
Suck it up for a minute.
Right. The other funny thing about that was that Jeff Pilsen replaced Juan Crucier, I'm always going to say his name wrong, who went to Rat, and one of the guitarists that they auditioned when Lynch left for a period because they couldn't get along was Warren DeMartini. Amazing that there's that kind of like locked in between, Rat and Dawkin.
He loved margaritas, didn't he?
Who's that?
Lauren DeMartini.
That's a Mark joke for all you
Shaken,
people
not
out there.
stirred.
Have a noise. Ding, Mark joke.
Ding. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Dear
So that's number
Lord.
8.
Awesome pick, Kev. So, Mark, after your great joke, we're going to run to you.
Ooh, a little Brian Adams.
Oh, you're pretty funny. Yeah. Well, I've already. Yeah. No, this is a very obscure record, and I'm dead serious when I say this. It's Ted Nugent, Penetrator.
Yes, sir.
And it had a guy named Brian Howe. He was the lead singer on a lot of the songs. He replaced Paul Rogers after that in Bad Company. A little fun fact. But this is a very underrated record. I mean, I doubt it even went gold. You couldn't even find information online about it. But it just really shows Ted Nugent's versatility once again. I've mentioned that before. And they do have a song. It's Where Do You Draw the Line, which is, here we go, Brian Adams and Jim Valance. They actually wrote this song. And my favorite two songs on this is Go Down Fighting and Thunder Thighs.
She's only 5'4", thank God no more. Isn't even 185. A lovely lady, a graceful lady, she could eat this man alive. Likes to rock and roll, but got no control when she sits down to a meal. The big leg woman ain't got no soul. This little girl's just unreal. What I say?
Thunder Thigh.
Yeah.
Oh, God. And it's if you listen to it, it really sounds a lot like Free for All.
She got a big leg.
She's 5'4", thank God no more. You know, don't sit on me. Don't sit on me, bitch. And Bobby Lubin is the bass player. And then you have Bobby Chavon. He was the drummer from Billy Squier. Bobby Chavon. I can't, if you guys are familiar, but yeah, it's a very underrated record that got no play. This is between his heyday and him going into Damn Yankees. So, but
Right.
it's just, if you listen to the songs on this record, it's really different. It's really different, but I love listening to Ted Nugent play guitar. It's my happy place.
Yeah.
He's such a great guitar player. He does not get the credit that he is due.
So underrated. We on this show will never bend to that. A great pick though, Mark. I love Uncle Ted.
Yes.
So, all right, I'm surprised that I'm the first to pick this album, and that is Rat Out of the Cellar. And that's their debut that came out on February 17th of the year. I think Back for More might be my favorite Rat song of all time. Okay. And I mean, Warren DeMartini, and that's why I was giving you the face, Kevin, when you were talking about him earlier. Incredible guitar player. And Stephen Pearcy, to me, is one of those singers that, you know, he could do what he did in the studio, but he was just so, in my mind, terrible live. But
you saw him live? Did you see him live?
Several times. But just
not that good, huh?
No, I didn't think so. But you know what? Neither is Vince Neil. Neither are a lot of singers. Neither is David Lee Roth. You know, if you took the friggin' voice away and just went by the acrobatics and the performance. I mean, there's a difference between a front man and a singer.
Definitely.
And I think that Stephen Pearcy is exactly that. But
and again, we've said it before, a lot of these
songs, you know.
Right. A lot of these guys, you know, you come out, you do something when you're 20, you can't do it when you're 30. You look at Robert Plant. I mean, there's no way that
good example.
10 years on he could do Immigrant Song.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And he proved that later on. But yes, precisely. It's just a great fucking album, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Love every track on that.
To you, Dongo.
Cool. Well, I had that one. It's hard because a lot of my picks that were higher up have been taken, but I'm going to stay true to the list. And I'm going to go with Chicago 17, which was in May 17th of 1984. And again, I love the cheese, right? And when you're a young
That's not cheese, though. It's amazing.
When you're a young adolescent in the 1980s and you're at a school dance and the inspiration comes on.
You know our love was meant to be the kind of love to last forever.
That is the cheese. Like it's
Peter Cetera.
It's a great song. It's full of cheese, right? It's, you know, if you're a musician that likes to play hard rock, heavy metal, you would never even come close to that. But you appreciate that it's a good song. You know what I mean? It's a good dance song when you're dancing with your girl at a high school dance in 1984.
But that's what's awesome. It's not cheese. I think that is an amazing, amazing song.
Yeah,
I think
it's amazing. Yeah.
I think we were so pushed away in the metal and rock and roll field that we all stuck to that we couldn't not call those songs cheese when they were pure beauty.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. But of course, when you're in that age and you're like, oh, I can't admit that I like this song, or you know,
exactly.
When you're wearing your hard rock T-shirts and in the smoking area and all that kind of stuff, and it's like, no, I like that stuff. I like that shit. You know,
it was fucking
it's
awesome.
So ridiculous at this age to think that literally I had all of the Prince albums. I had all of the EPs with the filthy songs on them, but I didn't take them out. My friends couldn't see me with that. There's no way. Granted, he was, I mean, honestly, a better guitarist than half the guys that we were listening to.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's Prince. He's
right. Back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah. He plays basketball in heels and wears women's blouses and offers pancakes.
The crowd I ran with back in '84 loved Prince.
Oh yeah.
Really?
I mean, yeah. David's friends too at the time. So.
Remember, Mark, you're a bit older, so that you had your own mind while we were still being influenced.
Your prefrontal cortex was fully developed. Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm my own man.
Yeah, that's that's a
14
compliment, by the way.
I know what it is, AJ.
Okay.
Unlike
You were
Gene Simmons, I
making
can
an
take a
angry
compliment
face.
and deal with it.
We were 14 and 13 years old and still heavily influenced by peer pressure.
I was old enough to drink because the drinking age was 20. So I was 20 years old. So there you go.
I wasn't old enough, but I was drinking.
Yeah, right.
Well,
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean, I
pretty
didn't
sure
start
we
until
all
it was
were.
my 20th birthday. You know, I didn't want to break any laws. So
All right, that's number 6 to you, Kev.
All right, I'm going to go with, well, nobody will be surprised by this, but one of the greatest bands ever, Iron Maiden's Power Slave. Just such a fantastic album. Again, we've talked about it before, one of the longest tours, I think, ever. It was, what did it start in? August 84, it started in Poland, and it ended July of 85 in California. Of course, the most important date on that was May 23rd of 85 when they stopped at the Cumberland County Civic Center in Portland, Maine. And I got thinking about that show. That was the days when I had it in me to fight my way, and I was up front. I mean, to the point where, you know, I believe the Sphinx head opened up. And I mean, they had the Eddie, the guy in the suit running around on stage, but they also had one that like came out over Nico on the drums. And I remember I was close enough to see the two guys, the two stagehands behind it with it was just on 2x4s and they were bouncing it out over the drummer, over Nico. But what just an amazing show, of course. Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner being the 13-minute epic that was just so incredible. The only other thing I can say about that is that tour they did the first Rock in Rio and played in front of 350,000 people. Can you imagine?
350,000 people?
Can you imagine looking out at, I mean, you can't see past the first 200,
Right.
But wow, that's pretty wild.
It's pretty awakening is what that is, right?
That means that's like 3 Manchesters.
There's a lot more than that. Yeah. Incredible.
Or a half a city block in New York.
Awesome pick, though. I knew you'd have that, Kev, for certain.
I did too. I know there's another one he's going to pick too.
I've been kind of thinking on this one, especially, that maybe we should all like guess everybody else's picks. Because so far, I looked at Chicago 17 and I'm like, I know Donnie's taking that. Penetrator from Ted. I knew that was your
Right.
pick. I was like, I'm not even putting my hands on that because I know it's yours.
Yeah.
I might have a couple surprises coming at you. We'll see.
When we were talking about it the other night, Kev, when we go through our lists, we're making your lists too. Like, I definitely know,
Right. That's what I'm saying.
I knew Donnie would have a couple. I knew Mark would have a couple. Like, I'm like throwing them in. And then I get the obscure ones, and I'm like, those are Kevin's.
Right. But like I said, we could mark them down and score. But at the end of it, be like, okay, I definitely had Chicago for Donnie, had Penetrator for Mark. I got 4.
That's a great idea, though, to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick your picks for next week.
Win the cast.
Yeah.
Just go for the cheese, AJ. Go for the cheese.
Right. All right. So that's 6 to you, brother.
All right. I also have Scorpions, Love at First Sting. A lot of these songs, as AJ would call it, fatigue, but I can't throw this baby out with the bathwater because it was a great record. I love Klaus Mayen. Is that how you say his name?
Minor.
Klaus Minor. Well, why doesn't he spell it M-I-N-O-R? But anyway, my favorite song on the record is Still Loving You. I'm still loving you. I'm still loving you. I'm still loving you. I love his voice. They're great musicians. And, I'm not going to say a lot about it because Donnie's already talked about it. And so that's my 6.
All right. I'm just going to go brief on mine because I feel like it's going to come up as well. And this is July 2nd of 1984. And that would be the second album from Mr. Ronnie James Dio, Last in Line. Now, this could be the greatest heavy metal voice in history, in my opinion.
I'm right with you there, brother.
But that title track, Last in Line, is just so incredible to me that I don't know how to describe it. He's just friggin' unbelievable. That's it. I feel probably the best metal vocalist of all time. That's all I'll say. So I'm going to go to you, Don.
Cool. Great pick there, AJ. We Rock is probably one of my favorite rock and roll songs of all fucking time. Like, I regret
And One Night
not
in the
using
City.
that on our Bangers podcast, because We Rock is like, I hear that song and I'm just like, yeah, you know, the tempo, words of that song, everything is just like, get out of your seat and rock.
You watch the faces, you see the traces of the things they want to be, but only we can see. They come for killing, they leave it still, it seems. The cloud is left behind. Oh, can penetrate your mind. But sail along, sing a song, carry on. But we rock.
I mean, that's a great pick. So I'm going to go with, and this is a tie-in to another podcast with the Singers, and I'm going to go with Thunder 7 from Triumph.
I thought
And
you
it was
picked that
on
one.
November 19th of 1984. And Triumph, this is an album that probably slid under most people's radar, but
Not in the Midwest.
right.
Go on.
And, you know, like, I love the song Follow Your Heart. Awesome vocals. And Midsummer's Night Daydream is a great instrumental song from Triumph. I love it. So,
David loved Triumph.
yeah.
AJ.
What a great band from Canada that had such a special meaning around here. But just the Midwest, it was really weird how they took off there.
Another band that never really got the credit, like Uncle Ted.
Yeah.
Never really got the kudos that they should have gotten globally.
Right. That's a great pick.
Yeah, great
Right.
pick.
So number 5 to you then, Kev.
Number 5 to me is one, I don't know if it'd be on anybody's list, but it's an album that I had, and it's just solid. It's fun, and that's Crocus, the Blitz.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Crocus.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah.
There's a perfect example of me picking your picks.
You knew I was gonna.
Yes.
I was going with Crocus. Nice. There's so many good songs on that album, and I thought Mark was going to pick that when he was talking about one of his picks had Bryan Adams and
See, he's all over the place.
Jim Valance.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
they wrote Boys Night Out that Crocus did on that album. It was supposed to be on Reckless. Bryan Adams decided to shelve it, and Crocus did it. So I mean, it's like those guys, like Michael McDonald. Those guys were everywhere. They were just spitting out #1 songs.
Right.
It was crazy. So Mark Storrs, the lead singer of Crocus, was at one point considered to replace Bon Scott in AC/DC, and I think that vocally could have worked. But I've read so many articles that he was just an asshole.
Yep.
And I think that's why he didn't get that gig. But if you think about his vocals, I think it might have made sense vocally for him to come into AC/DC at that point.
Lead singer disease? Is that what it's called?
I exactly what it's called. And I feel like I heard he backed out of it too. So you never know. Like, this is hearsay stuff. Good
but
call.
anyway, Kevin, that Jim Valance and Bryan Adams song, where do you draw the line on Perpetrator, was also a throwaway from a Bryan Adams record. So
can you I mean, again, a tribute to
didn't
how talented Bryan Adams is, that, oh, well, I got all these songs on an album that's stacked, and his cast-offs are hits for other people. I mean, that's
it was with Ted Nugent. Yeah, I did say that, right, AJ?
Yes, you did.
Awesome. Okay, so that's to you, brother.
All right. Well, I hope the Kiss fans don't get too pissed off about me on this one. It's Kiss Animalize. It's half of the record. It's very, very good. Gene Simmons was taking a time off to go to Hollywood, and his contributions to this record was not great. Paul Stanley's contributions were very, very good. You had Mark St. John on this record. He did play like a bumblebee, 1,000 notes a second. Not my style. I don't like it. I think music should breathe. But, you had I Had Enough, Into the Fire. Heaven's on Fire is not my favorite song. I know a lot of people love it. Under the Gun is fine. I guess they're going to... Paul Stanley, he didn't want to drive 65 or 70. He drove 69 going down the highway. And, you have Thrills in the Night, which is basically about this chick that works works at the office all day, blah,
Little
blah, blah.
hooker action.
Yeah, she's going. I think she's probably a high price hooker. I don't think Paul Stanley would be doing the chick from. Yeah, remember the girl from Breaking Bad? AJ, Donnie, Kevin, the one with the
Windy.
She loved
Everyone
root
knows
beer.
it's Windy.
She loved root beer.
Yes, she did.
Oh my God! I mean, I guess I should look up the actress's name and see what she looks like in real life. Because, I mean, I'm getting off on a tangent here.
Clearly.
But,
I love the.
But that's a great pick, brother. And
I love Kiss. We know that, and it's a great half record.
Yeah.
You have a song by Gene Simmons called "Burn, Bitch, Burn." Listen to the lyrics on that. He wrote it in 20 seconds.
I'll give you a little input on that.
I know, AJ.
A bit later.
I'm done.
All right. So that's to me at number 5. And I am going with a band that I absolutely love. They are called Striper. The Yellow and Black Attack. This album.
I thought you were going to go with that.
It's a Christian band. And yes, I am a Christian, but I never followed suit into that with, the mentality of the music. I just listened to the band. Every musician in this band is so incredible. Michael and Robert Sweet, brothers that grew up in church choir. Michael is the singer. Robert is the drummer. He has such an amazing, amazing voice. They are incredible. I mean, you got Loud and Clear on this album. That it's before they hit their MTV heyday, which I will say about the band. They are the only band in MTV history, according to my knowledge, that had 2 songs in the top 10 that were recycling, on the call-ins and the top 10 list every day of the week. Incredible. You guys know many songs after that, I assume, Honestly, and Soldiers Under Command, and Makes Me Want to Sing, Shout at the Devil.
To hell with the devil.
To hell with the devil. I know where you're going, Mark.
Different band.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very different band.
Yes.
But you get where I was going with that anyway.
I got it, Frank, as they would say on the Turkey Boys.
So, all right, Donald.
Frank Rizzo.
Frank
Open your
Rizzo.
ears, jackass.
5 to you,
Oh,
Don.
the kids of today won't understand.
You do
that.
know that he's on Family Guy too. I didn't even know that. He plays Mort. That's Saul
didn't-
Rosenberg's voice.
Is it really?
Saul.
Yes. I'm dead
And I was
serious.
up on the
He's
Empire State Building. My eyes were all messed up.
That is the same guy. I forgot the guy's real name. The guy that plays Frank Rizzo is on Family Guy. In fact, Saul Rosenberg came from that part.
Oh, interesting. That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Cool.
All right.
Fun facts.
So
Fun
I am at another cheese point where I have to go with Bon Jovi, and January
We've heard it the
23rd of
first time.
1984.
His
The
debut.
debut album of Bon Jovi was Bon Jovi. And, you know, songs like Runaway, She Don't Know Me, Shot Through the Heart, but
Which is
like,
not the same.
Runaway, I love the song Runaway. I also love the
great
song She Don't Know Me. That is a great,
I do too.
It's a great cheesy song. I love it. You know, I don't know why, but it's endearing to me. But that time of my life in 1984, I went with it, you know?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Runaway, Donnie, I think might be when we were running lights for Why Not. And
Yeah, exactly. They
those
played that
8
song.
buttons.
They did a great job at that song too.
Yeah.
I think the vocals on "She Don't Know Me." I think that's what it makes it stand out. With it's the call and return and all that.
Yeah,
And
it's a
Sam Bora
heartwarming
had,
song.
Yeah, and Sam Bora
Yeah.
had a great voice
Yeah.
for backing. I mean, I think he had a great voice regardless, but he never seemed to want to.
Right.
But definitely was very cool in the backing vocals.
Yeah.
All right, Kev, that's number 4 to you.
All right, once again, this is, I mean, my head gets so messed up when we go through these because the years that they're released just aren't like linear in my memory. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about a great album, but it seemed like so different from everything else. And that's Stevie Ray Vaughan's "Couldn't Stand the Weather."
Yes.
I mean,
Oh wow.
amazing album of unbelievable guitars, but it doesn't fit in my mind with Rat and Dawkins and so I mean it was probably
Could it, right?
well, I know, but it just doesn't feel like it would be from that era. You know what I mean? If you asked me, I would have been like, "Oh, that was later." You know what I mean? That was towards the 90s, not 84. But anyway, Stevie was, I mean, taken too soon.
Yes.
What an amazing guitarist. I always kind of hated and he played into it because he did, you know, some Hendrix songs. I appreciated Hendrix, but wasn't a huge fan. And I felt like Stevie had way more on the ball than Hendrix did. But again, just an incredible blues player, incredible guitarist. And again, one of these guys that could sing a bit and then some and play the shit out of that guitar.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. His version of Voodoo Child is amazing.
It is.
Right.
It really is. And again, not my favorite because I'm not, like I said, I'm not a big Hendrix fan, but he rips the roof off it.
All right, that's number 4 to you, brother.
Well, I'm going to go with Van Halen 1984. It came out very early that year. It was January 9th, and it's been spoken about. 2 of my favorite songs on it are Drop Dead Legs and I'll Wait. I can never get sick of I'll Wait. That's a song that I've never had fatigue for. But this song reminds me of going to the break room at Kmart. This was the year that me and David went to lick it up, and it was such a great year for music. This is basically 83 music. But there is a subtle difference between the song Jump, between the video and the record version, what you hear on the radio. Can you guys name it?
I cannot.
You got
When they in the bridge, David Lee Roth goes, "Oh!" Watch the video. You'll know what I'm saying. That's all I have to say about Van Halen 1984, other than it was a transition, getting into the synthesizers and obviously going into Van Hagar. They could not coexist anymore. So that's my number 4 pick.
The only difference on the radio version and the album is, oh,
No, the video.
Is that
The
okay?
video. Watch the
Right.
video. He goes, "Oh, I mean, I'm not doing it very good. You, Donnie, or whoever edits this, put it on." Thank you.
We'll throw it in.
We'll
for
do
What
it.
are you,
cover.
AJ?
All right. This one, I'm actually very excited I get to go to this first and probably last. I am going with Twisted Sister.
I knew you picked
Stay Hungry. This album to me is so important when we talk about MTV videos. And this is why I was bringing it up earlier when I was talking about, I think it was Rat, I'm not sure, but the videos with the guy from Animal House.
What kind of a man desecrates a defenseless textbook? I've got a good mind to slap your fat face. You are destroying your life with that garbage. All right, Mr. Sister. I want you to tell me. No, better yet, stand up and tell the class. What do you want to do with your life?
I wanna rock.
On this and their MTV heyday, so incredible. But more importantly, the album itself took me to a place and I would rock out on my own to this. You know, the two big tracks, We're Not Gonna Take It and I Wanna Rock. But then you have The Price, We're Gonna Burn in Hell, Mr. Howdy, or Captain Howdy, I should say. They were such a huge band on the East Coast, like just doing so much with themselves, touring and touring and touring. And then they disappeared after this album. I mean,
Pretty much, yeah, they did.
Think of those two videos, just with the cartoon effects. And that's where I was going earlier with the like Looney Tunes idea of the Roadrunner and just, dying and coming back and dying and coming back and getting blown up. And it's just friggin' hilarious to me. But the music itself, if you go listen to that album, The Price, to me, that little ballad that they try to pull off. I mean, Dee Snider's not a ballad singer, but that song slays me to this day. And I'll leave it at that to you, Donald.
I just wanted to say that that's a lot of bands. Most bands don't stay around for 20, 30 years or even really 5 years. They have their hits and they're fly-by-nights. So that's all I wanted to say. So, Donnie?
Thank you. No, I had Twisted Sister in this spot for Stay Hungry. I love the... You get that the video.
Donnie, you're so good at that. I don't know. Supposed to.
What do you want to do with your life? I want to rock. That was so cool. Those videos were amazing when you were a kid watching MTV, And Animal House is one of my favorite movies of all time. And that dude nails that part of come on, what do you want to do with your life? And the guy was I want to rock.
You are a disgusting slob! Are you listening to me? What do you want to do with your life? I want to rock.
Where'd you learn to do that, Donnie? You're like the guy. What was it? Was it the Police Academy movies? Where the guy?
That was the I Want to Rock
do
video, Mark.
The sound effects, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
Donnie is right
Michael
up there
Winslow.
with him.
Yeah.
Isn't he though?
Yeah. And that's why I love it. That was the 80s, man. Like sound effects and doing cool stuff like that. And that Twisted Sister was, yeah, they're not the greatest musicians in the world, but they nailed the moment.
They
You
know
know what
how
I mean?
to turn on the friggin' public. Yep.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I read somewhere that, I mean, like after you said they disappeared after that album, I saw an interview with D, and he was saying he was like he took a call center job or was something. I mean, they went from the pinnacle to broke.
Yeah.
Whether it was mismanagement or excess or whatever else. But he
I
was
don't
like,
no, I was just going to say with the PR, what was it, PMRC interview? He said he didn't do any of it.
Great. Yeah.
He said he did not do drugs, alcohol, none of that stuff. Maybe the rest of the band did.
Excess doesn't have to be drugs and alcohol. It can be Porsches and Hummers and motorcycles and houses and all that. But
Gambling,
it
whatever.
was the because they had done a Christmas song, and that's
they did
how
a Christmas album. Yeah.
Right, and that all of a sudden somebody wanted to use that, and that's how he got kind of saved.
Yes,
he was. Yeah, so cool story that
Yeah.
You think that, again, you think that, like you were talking about, Mark, your news story, woohoo, I'm in Kiss. And then you get afflicted with something and you're fucked. Or, woohoo, I'm Twisted Sister and we're the biggest band in the world. And they play our video on MTV every 7 seconds. And then you're answering phones trying to figure out how you're going to feed your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, Bill?
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about it. It's not the same as rock and roll used to be. Although
like
I think he's still worth 5.7 billion or million.
Well, I'd love to be given the chance to see if I could handle success.
Right?
Yeah, no kidding. We talked about that in our last cast, AJ.
All right. To you, Kev.
All right. Here's where I lose you guys. This is a funny one because I absolutely love this album and I really don't care for the band or anything they did after this. Red Hot Chili Peppers' first album, RHCP, and they shit on it themselves. I still think it's their finest work. Slovak had left after writing some of it, and this Jack Sherman came in, and I thought he did a fantastic job. And they later admitted that it was his knowledge of music and some of his funk background and whatever that made the album what it was. Flea says he wants to go back and re-record the album, and I'm like,
it was
to me that was the one. Everything else seems like, I think it's Kiedis's voice. I don't think their music changes much. I think maybe it's pigeonholed just because it's fairly distinct. But I get so weathered on Anthony Kiedis's voice. If I hear Under the Bridge one more time, I will literally stab myself in the ear with an ice pick. It's like, come on, dude. But anyway, the first album, killer. Police Helicopter, True Men Don't Kill Coyote. I think the first time I heard it, there was this waitress from New York when I was working at the college, and she needed her car moved. Of course, rich family. She had a brand new Mustang. I'm talking, this is like, I don't know, probably later in the 80s, whatever. And I get in the car and Mommy Where's Daddy is playing. And it's, I don't know if you know the song, but it's like Flea's going nuts on the bass and there's a horn section and Sherman is playing this like jazzy riff. It's such a cool song. And I got in her car and I turned it on. I heard that and I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
And so I literally had to go out the next day and find that album because it was just so from somewhere else and just so cool. But so anyway, RHCP, that's my number.
So that's then to you, Mark.
I have Prince, Purple Rain. Like you said, AJ, let's go crazy. You put the needle down, just rockin' song. Prince is extremely underrated. I Would Die For You, which is really not a rockin' song, but it's catchy. When Doves Cry, that was probably the biggest hit on the record. You know, Darlin' Nikki is so funny. I'm going to send that to my stepdaughter, Nikki. Well, nobody calls her that anymore, but she'll probably yell at me. And of course, the title track, and, it all fits in with the movie. This is at Prince's peak. It's already been picked once again. Thank you. But great, great record. Great soundtrack of 1984, the summer. And number 3 to you, brother.
Right. Literal soundtrack, too. And
Oh, no. It was he was massive back then. And he was always.
No,
great.
I know. But I'm saying it was a literal soundtrack to a movie.
I know.
So,
the chicken or the egg.
Yep. So for me, then, Born in the USA, the title track, I'm on Fire, Cover Me, Glory Days, Dancing in the Dark. Every one of these songs to me, it holds a place to me. Like this album, I used to listen to so constantly over and over and over. The song I'm on Fire is mellow and short. I think it's like a 2-minute song.
Emotional
This song was so emotional to me and dug me really deep. I loved that. When this album came out, it really had a special place to me. I do want to talk about Glory Days. Mark, you brought up the baseball part of it, which hit home to me. There was a part of that album like where I felt was so much more emotional than the rest of his catalog that really hit me. And I'll leave it at that. But anyway.
You were safe, by the way. I was the ump in Little League. I didn't know why I called you out, AJ. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was a bad call, too.
I'm sorry. I was like 14 years old. They dragged me into the field. What was I got paid nothing.
Dongo, I'm going to go to you.
All right, I got to do it. I have to go with, Madonna, Like a Virgin. It's an iconic album of that decade. Like a Virgin, Angel, Material Girl, like those songs. Even though at the time I was like, I wouldn't like buy the music, but I was like, oh, it's pop. I like it. Like I would say I like it. Someone stuck a gun to my head. It's like, do you like it? I'd be like, yeah, I like it. You know what I mean? Like, and she was iconic for the 80s, like her look, her dress, everything about the dance, the videos.
She was sexy too back in the day.
The 80s, like she personified the 80s with her music, her look, her everything, and like, would I say she's the best vocalist? No, but songwriter, no, but performer, yes. She knew how to do it. She knew how to bring it home. So
she looked good while she was doing it too.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. That's a great pick. I actually had it on my list too, or in my pre-list, may I say. I'm glad you took it, Donald, because I did not. All right, Kevin. I believe number 2 to you or 1?
Number 2 to me.
Right.
We're going with the Honey Drippers.
Here's our deep one for the day.
What's that? The deep one for the day. That was a huge hit. Emmett Erdogan from Atlantic Records wanted to hear a bunch of his favorite 50s songs. So Robert Plant sang, Niles Rodgers played guitar, Jimmy Page played guitar, Jeff Beck played guitar. It was, you guys don't remember that one? I thought it was everywhere.
Deep to me, that's all.
Huh. So it was old 50s standard songs.
Do you remember when we met? That's the day I knew you were my pet. I want to tell you how much I love you.
you kind of, when you had, towards the end of Zeppelin, they did Hot Dog, which was kind of had that, and even Candy Store Rock, I think, had that kind of 50s kind of feel to it. So I think Plant definitely had a penchant for that kind of stuff. And when the president of Atlantic Records goes, "Hey, do this," you go, "Okay." But a great Sea of Love, I think, was the big one, the mellow. But there was good rocking at midnight. There was just great smoking musicians just playing great tunes.
All right, Mark, run with it.
Mine is the Pretenders, Learning to Crawl.
Nice.
What a great fucking record. I am sorry. This is also part of the soundtrack. Middle of the Road, Back on the Chain Gang, My City Was Gone, and the ballad 2,000 Miles. I love the guitars on this record. I love the sounds of the guitar, like rock clean, if you will. Donnie, I know you know what I'm talking about. I love Chrissy Hynde's voice as well. I know you're probably shocked that I picked it so high on my list, but it's just wonderful music.
Yep. And that's what's important, brother.
I'm surprised. I thought you guys were all going to be picking this, and it's like I picked it so high that I'm probably just going to say, yeah, Pretenders, yeah, Learn to Crawl. Next.
Well, you should hate it now that we didn't pick it.
I don't hate it that you didn't pick it. I love it. I have a mind of my own, you pencil neck geek.
That's my point. And enjoy that.
I just can't believe it wasn't picked.
Talk about underrated, though. Chrissy Hynde is just, she has
a sexy
unbelievable
voice.
She's a sexy voice, but she's been out there. I mean, they were originally kind of had a punk edge to them. She used to date what's his name, Jones from the Sex Pistols. I mean, she's like she's like living rock and roll history. And then I think about the year that album came out. She married Jim Kerr from Simple Minds.
Right.
I mean, that's a spectrum right there for sure.
Yeah, and My City Was Gone was the intro music to a very, very awesome human being that was a talk show host. I'll leave it at that.
There you go.
Nice.
You're right.
Awesome.
You don't have to rush through it.
No, exactly.
Well, I'm not doing the limbo today either.
And nobody else has to know it or like it either.
Exactly.
So awesome.
Great pick, Mark.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
So that's 2 to me then. This album that I'm going to take right now is something that I never would have picked back in the day. But now it's number 2 on my list, and that is Metallica, Ride the Lightning.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in the 80s, I couldn't like them. Like their type of music was coming into my world, and I was supposed to hate it. I did hate it when Kill 'Em All came out. I did hate Metallica. I was like, this is not for me. I don't know what the fuck this shit is. And then friggin' Ride the Lightning comes out. Man, Fade to Black, fucking For Whom the Bell Tolls, the title track, and then, of course, my favorite Metallica song of all time, which is Creeping Death. This comes out. I'm like, I can't hate him anymore. God, James Hetfield is such a good lyricist. It's unbelievable. Almost every song tells a story. They just are what they are. And that's my number 2. Like, absolutely amazing, pure talent. And they brought me into a new genre of music because it was just one thing or the other, and then whammo. They opened my eyes. And then when Master came out, that's another podcast. Incredible.
Yep.
if you can't listen to this and if it doesn't light your balls on fire,
You need to get your motor
something's up.
checked.
Exactly. Get your motor checked. But awesome, Dongo. The towel goes to you.
I got to go to one that's already been picked. It was
Sound like
important to
Eeyore.
me. It was Rat. You know,
Nice.
Yeah, I had to do Out of the Cellar from Rat. Back for More is one of my favorite all-time songs.
Incredible.
Warren DeMartini is one of my favorite. You know, he's right up there with my top favorite guitar players. Randy Rhoads is probably number one, but Warren DeMartini is in that top 5, definitely. And he's underrated for sure. Their rhythms, you know, just rhythm chops were amazing. They didn't get a lot of accolades for that. Their music wasn't, whoa, oh my God, it's awesome. But it was their rhythms and I can't explain it. Like his chops on the rhythm guitar were amazing. His solos were excellent, but he just knew how to do like a good choppy. I can't explain it right now, but
What you say, Donald, the fact that everything you're saying, all those songs, so many people feel exactly like you do, that guitarist, the songwriting, all of that should have been so massive, and they never actually broke to the next level.
Right.
And the fact that they had something like, I don't know, like 12 hits during the 80s.
Yeah.
Like they fucking had so many killer songs that never went to that next level.
Yeah.
And only God knows why that didn't fucking happen.
Yeah.
But it certainly should have, because, and think about it. We go through that one album and think of all the hits on it.
Yeah.
And then go through Invasion and then the next few, even when they get up to like Way Cool Jr., as lame as I thought that was, it still became like a massive hit. Like they had hits after hits after hits, and they still only like headlined for like a very short time. You know, when they.
It's funny that you brought up Way Cool Jr. because I loved the music. It's just the lyrics on that one just were like, what?
Yeah, they hit you funny.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No.
But
Yeah.
such an
you throw a different vocal line in there. It's a different song entirely. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And plus their other,
because it's got a good groove, you know?
Yeah, it does. Got that little plucking 2-string kind of. Yeah. It's not love, Dawkins kind of.
No doubt. So I believe that brings us to number 1, right,
You
Kev?
would be correct.
Is that you?
All right. Number 1, my top pick for 1984. Going to have some disclaimers because there's a lot going on here. And I'm going to start with this. It is not a live album. It is a studio album, but there are some live recorded tracks.
Oh, boy.
This was a marriage of amazing players that only lasted for a short period of time. It was Sammy Hagar just before he got into Van Halen, or a couple years before. And Neil Schon on break from Journey. Kenny Aronson, who was an incredible bass player and played with everybody under the sun. And then Michael Shreve, who was the drummer for Santana, very famous for the drum solo that he did at Woodstock when he was 20 years old. And the band was called HSAS, and it was a one-off. Hagar, Schon, Aronson, and Shreve, and it's called Through the Fire, and it's an album that most people have never heard of, and I just remember picking it up and just loving it. It's like, it's just a gritty, in your face. I think they practiced it for like 3 weeks or something like that. Everybody had other commitments, and they just, I thought it was a great album. I mean, it's obvious that it was kind of rushed. There wasn't any high polish on it, but I just love the album. And I mean, they got a little play with Top of the Rock and Missing You.
I've taken a lot of lip just to be what I am. You think it's tough being a kid? Well, try being a man sometime. Everybody wants a little piece, or they try to shoot you down. Well, I just tell them, sit on this and spin around.
Odd, because I'm always kind of, when we talk about Van Halen, I'm like always siding with Roth and whatever else, and that's definitely my feeling. But I've always said that Hagar is great. I just liked him on his own and in situations
too,
like
brother.
this versus Van Hagar.
Yep.
Aside from 5150, which I still think was a great album, but as I have said before, I don't even think that Eddie played like Eddie played when he was with Hagar. He played, he played a pop version. So,
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm giving respect to Sammy Hagar right now, and if you guys get a chance and you don't know the album, check it out. It's a really cool, oft forgotten LP, and that's my numero uno.
Nice.
All right. I mean, this was the easiest number one I've ever had. It's Metallica, Ride the Lightning. Just an incredible record. Is it Kirk Hammett?
Yeah.
Blistering guitars. Absolutely blistering guitars. For Whom the Bell Tolls and Fade to Black. I'm sorry. I don't need to apologize. Why am I apologizing? Is my favorite Metallica song of all fucking time. It just touches all the bases. I mean, it starts off with, the slow guitars, great guitars. It just moves through. It's so in your face rocking. It's, the whole, I mean, it's almost a semi-concept album, if you will, in that it's just basically, they're not happy in life. Obviously, something's not right in their heads at this point. I don't know what's going on with them. But son of a bitch, it's a great record. It's in your face, heavy fucking metal.
Mm-hmm.
My number one, it was so easy, I didn't even have to think about it.
No.
There you go. High praise.
That's a great album. Absolutely. All right. Number one to me. Well, you know what I'm going to pick, and that is Kiss Animalize. And that is not just because of the album, it's because of the importance. Once again, in my life, this was my first tour. Everything that brought me in to love this band was not long before this. You saw the Heavens on Fire video. That song to me is meaningless when I look at the other four Paul Stanley songs on this album. I've had enough. Into the Fire, Get All You Can Take, Under the Gun, Thrills in the Night. This is such a strong Paul Stanley album. I mean, Gene is god awful on it, and everyone knows that as far as a Kiss fan goes. Those Paul songs are so incredible that I feel like because of the time in our lives or the time in the world at that point, and then Gene not coming through, I just feel like those songs got undershadowed. Incredible Paul Stanley album, incredible vocals. It just got lost in the mix for everything that was going on at the times. And that's really sad that Heaven's on Fire, although that's still one of the most massive tunes from the 80s.
No guitar solo.
Yeah.
Really.
Heard it in the supermarket the other day.
Yeah, exactly. Incredible song. and I'm not, disparaging the song whatsoever because it was incredible, but it overshadowed the other four, which were amazing. So
AJ.
I'm going with Kiss at number one and always will, and that's that.
So AJ, that was kind of the trilogy of, you had Creatures of the Night, Exciter, and then
And then I've had enough. Yep.
I had enough. Into the Fire. Yes, I got my
incredible
tongue twisted.
openers. Yep. And not only that, Mark, they had incredible songs throughout those albums. I don't know. I feel like Kiss will always be an overlooked band because they're Kiss. Because of the makeup, they got effed. And that's that. So do you, Donald. That's
All
it.
right.
We're done.
So my
right?
number one's going to go way back to Kevin's number 10 is 1984 Van Halen. Got to go with it for my number one because this was an iconic album for me. Like, I remember early memories of childhood listening to this on like a clock radio and being like, oh my God, what is that? You know, like hearing Jump and the synthesizers, and was like, oh, this is amazing. You know, this was my first introduction to like radio and MTV and like everything was hitting all at once. And this, for me, this album landed right at the time where I was like, whoa, this is cool. You know, what's going on here? So 1984, Van Halen, you know, Panama, you know, Hot for Teacher. The video Hot for Teacher was like, woo, I love Hot for Teacher. Why do I love that? Because I'm a young adolescent male, you know? So
it's almost like they knew.
It was all hitting at the right time. But that was my number one.
Awesome, Don. I mean, what a great year in music, boys. I keep thinking these decade series, you know, they're going to come to a close. I mean, we did 76. We still have all of the 70s left. Half of the 80s, more than half of the 80s.
We have the entire 18th century, AJ.
Yeah, we do indeed. Mm-hmm. And then the beginning of the 90s, we get a long way to go to this. And these shows are just a lot of fun. Thank you, guys. What a great time, man. It was so much fun. We're going to keep running with it. So, Kevin, thank you.
Thank you, AJ.
Yeah, absolutely, Brother Mark.
That was fun, guys.
Donnie and Margot.
Thank you.
It's Margot, damn it.
Awesome, boys. Well, here we go, and we are out.
You've been listening to Pastimes at 80s High. Our passion is the nostalgia from the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. When times were more simple, times were more fun.
Hey, bud, let's party.
And we weren't stuck in our phones all day.
Inconceivable!
We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, you can send an email to pastimes@80shigh@gmail.com and hit the website at pastimes@80shigh.com. See you next time.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.